It's September 6th, and the end of the week is nigh upon us, which means a little something special for you GameSpot news fans. I'm Chris Waters, and today we're running down the top 5 hottest news stories of the week as determined by comments, social metrics, science, and consulting the bones of my ancestors. Let's see which stories they picked. There was a lot of news about the next generation of consoles this week, but not a lot of talk about Nintendo. The PS4 and the Xbox One seem to be hoarding all the mindshare these days, including that of Bethesda Softworks Vice President of Public Relations and Marketing, Pete Hines. In an episode of Game Trailer's bonus round, Hines praised Microsoft and Sony for involving third-party publishers very early on in the console development process, treating them more like collaborators than consumers. Nintendo didn't check in with publishers until much later in the process, and it's easy to see how that could contribute to the lack of third-party support for the Wii U. Well, that and the fact that most developers think the Wii U is just an add-on peripheral for the Wii. Just kidding. Only a large segment of the consumer population thinks that. Let's move up the list to story number 4, which by complete coincidence is about Battlefield 4. In an interview with IGN, DICE creative director Lars Gustafsson said that BF4 will have a test range that will allow players to try out the myriad vehicles in a practice environment before attempting to pilot them in online multiplayer. To borrow a phrase from Jess McDonald's wrap-up last week, it's about panda time. I mean, I'm sure boneheaded helicopter crashes and ineffectual jet piloting will still be an occupational hazard, but the more not terrible pilots there are out there, the better chance everyone has of surviving to be shot in the face on the ground. As it should be. Our next news story relates that the PlayStation 4 will only support 4 DualShock 4 controllers. And I probably could have made that one the number 4 and it would have worked a little better, but I regret nothing. When compared to the 8 controllers supported by the Xbox One and the 7 supported by the PlayStation 3, 4 seems like a pretty paltry number. But I'm curious, what is the maximum amount of controllers you have ever used on one console at the same time? I think my max was 5 at a time on the Sega Genesis playing Columns 3. Because hell yeah, Columns 3! And the adapter thing. Number 2 most newsiest news of the week was the news that Sony might be crafting a virtual reality headset for the PlayStation 4. As reported by Eurogamer and CVG, the device would involve hardware technology similar to that of the Oculus Rift. Evolution Studios is said to be working on a VR version of the launch racing game Drive Club. And our number 1 story of the week is the news that in 11 weeks on November 22nd, the Xbox One will be available for purchase in North America, some of Europe, Brazil, and Oceania. With that, our weekend news comes to a close. I understand it's customary at the end of the week to also point you towards a few cool highlights from GameSpot this week, so hey, have you read Mark Walton's review of Puppeteer? That game sounds super awesome and it looks super good and I super want to play it. I also want to buy a Vita, at long last, a decision Danny O'Dwyer nudged me towards in this week's episode of The Point. It's like that dude is in my mind. That'll do it for me, folks. I'm Chris Waters, and it's been a pleasure hosting the news and chatting with y'all in the comments this week. Tweet me your Columns 3 memories at CT Waters, or just sound off on the week's events using the hashtag GSNews. Hit the subscribe button on the way out, and have a great weekend. Thanks for watching.